I'm just about to assemble the Greek masterpiece dish called Pastitsio. And I have been busy preparing for about an hour already to get everything ready. So all the stuff that you need is pre-done here. And oh, hi, by the way. I've got ground beef cooked with cinnamon and nutmeg and onions, a bit of tomato paste. I've got the Ziti noodles, and they are the number 2 Ziti. Oh, and this is the Béchamel. Oh my gosh, it turned out amazing. I can't even lift the pot, too heavy. But the pièce de résistance is the grated cheese, which my husband so graciously grated. Haha. So here we go. First you start with a layer of the noodles, and you just sort of distribute them evenly in the pan. They don't have to be perfectly straight. I was sort of obsessing about that to start with, kind of trying to line them all up in the pan, but you don't even need to do that. I'm gonna add some olive oil because they're kind of sticking together a little bit in the pot. Put some olive oil there. Yeah, Petrina olive oil. That's right, we only get our olive oil from Petrina. So, and we're very proud of that. Here we go. So you just need to make an even layer in the bottom of the pan of noodles. Oop. They don't always cooperate properly with you. There we go. Another little bit. Basically, you're gonna put half of the noodles that you have in your pot into the bottom of the pan. And just try and make it smooth on the bottom. Makes a nice bottom layer. Another few scoops and I think I'm good. Here we go. And we're all set to make this huge pan, but it's not all for us. We're gonna divide it up and send it out to a few special people so they can fill their bellies. Oh, Chiarimo, I'm not gonna sing. Okay, so this is the first layer of Ziti noodles in the pan. Then you're supposed to sprinkle some cheese over top of that. So here we go with the first layer of cheese. Boop, boop, boop. This kind of cheese is called, what is it? Kefalotiri. Okay, Kefalotiri. It was a giant block that we got from the Greek market down in Aurora, and we've been there a few times now. It's kind of a little excursion into a Greek bakery and deli and cafe, and when spring and summer comes around, I think we'll find ourselves there a few times having some cafe. Okay, so I'm going to start with the meat now. This basically, it's a bit, I used a potato masher to grind it up a little, so that there aren't very many big chunks of beef, but I'm just stirring it up to get all of the nice oil and moisture mixed around in it beautifully. And it smells really good with the cinnamon and nutmeg in it. The recipe doesn't call for nutmeg, but I put some in anyhow because I just love having nutmeg in that. So here we go. Just gonna, yeah, Era says, I am what I eat, therefore I must be a nut. Probably a little bit of a nut. Oh yes, exactly. Okay, here we go. Then guess what goes on top of the meat? More cheese. Haha. And then another layer of noodles. And then more cheese. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread this around and try and again to distribute it evenly in the pan. We had a big long discussion about how much meat I should use here. I went exactly by what the recipe called for, but what I pulled out of the freezer was too much. So back it went. Now I know. When you follow the recipe, things work out pretty well. but sometimes I like to improvise, and I think that's how we discover things, when we improvise. So I like to do a little more of that. There we go. That's a pretty even looking layer. More cheese. And then the more noodles go on top of this after. It's gonna be so good, if I do say so myself. I don't know, I think my battery might die on my phone too while I'm here, so that's not a fun thing. I'm very ill prepared. I do all of this kind of spur of the moment without ever thinking about it in advance, which is pretty silly. But, so I've got quite a bit of cheese left here, but believe it or not, there are 2 more layers needed, so. Okay, here we go with the noodles again. Another layer. See how much room there is in the pan still? So the layer of noodles and then the bechamel on top will basically fill the pan. Here we go. I think I want to be a bit more delicate with this layer here. Whoop, as she throws the noodles everywhere. I'm a bit messy. Yeah. It's a lot of fun making this too, and I feel like a Greek housewife when I do make pastitsio. Apparently the torch has been passed to me by Yaya. She said my pastitsio is pretty good, so she isn't gonna make it anymore. Which I find kind of amusing, but that's pretty nice also. Okay, come on, cooperate, you noodles. They're not cooperating very nicely. And I don't want to just dump them because there's water in the pan still. So I'm trying to, oh, I think I need a little bit of help here. Here we go. Stay in the spoon, you guys. I'm sure many of you can do this in a much more coordinated fashion than I. Aha, here we go. Starting to look like something. Wow. Yes. Tika ni stora. Tika ni simera. I hope everybody's well. Here we go. Oh, this is almost full right to the top. I think I could almost skip a few noodles, but I will put them all in, because what if I don't use them all and then someone says, why aren't there enough noodles in here? You know, because people say things like that. Okay, I think that's it. Let's not get the water. Just the noodles. All right, that is done. They look pretty good. They're gonna fill every corner. Yes. More cheese. A little bit more cheese on here. Helps it all stick together. And you know what the best thing about this dish is? They say that you should cook it the day before you need it and put it into the fridge overnight, and then just warm it up a little bit to serve it, because it cuts better into nice stacking pieces when it's had a chance to chill and sort of solidify itself. So there we go. There's another layer of cheese, and I've still got a tiny bit for the very top of the dish after the bechamel goes on. Bechamel sauce is actually not that hard to make. You start with butter, a lot of it. What did we go through? 6 tablespoons of butter, right, Eris? And then
85.6 grams.
Which is 85.6 grams. Yes, I prefer to measure in grams because I have a little scale, and that helps me immensely. So you start with the butter, and then you mix flour in, and then you put milk in. But if you pour cold milk in, it's a disaster. So you have to heat the milk up first, and then you stir and stir and stir, and you actually add the milk gradually because you don't want to just overdo it. So gradually helps it thicken slowly, and then you get a nice creamy sauce there. And then what happens is you cool it down a little bit, and you beat up 3 eggs, and then you toss the eggs in and stir that and just let it sit. if you put the eggs in while it's still too hot, then they cook. And that is also an undesired effect. You would just have these chunks of cooked egg in your sauce. So this way it comes out nice and creamy, and the eggs help it also to solidify when it's cooking in the oven. Which reminds me, I didn't put the oven on yet. Let's see, bake for, what's the baking? Stop. What does the recipe say? I should check. Okay. 350. Bake at 350. Start. All right. Perfect. That will preheat pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna gently pour this in kind of slow rolls along here. 1, and then a 2, and a 3. And you can see it's just sitting nicely on top. Ooh, I'm gonna go along a 4th time here. Fill in some of the gaps. Still got a lot. Okay, now I can scrape this out, scrape the rest of it into the pan. Sort of in the middle there. Yeah. And then, whoops, need a bit more. Love this spatula. I don't know where I got it, but Think Kitchen it says, and I love all my red accessories. Yes, all my stuff is red in the kitchen. Anyway, here we go. I'm almost on the home stretch. Set that down and just evenly smush the bechamel so that it's covering everything. There's some cheese there. We don't want that too much on the edge or it'll burn, right? So here we go. Wow, it's looking delicious already. Now don't let me forget, there's still, guess what? Another layer of cheese that goes on here. Okay, here it is. So this a tiny bit of cheese will be sprinkled on top. Boop, boop, boop. I kind of like this. I'm thinking maybe I'll do a cooking show. Or you know who should do a cooking show is my heiress, because he just does all these masterpieces, and he watches on YouTube and then he decides what he's gonna cook, and he just sort of does his own thing. He never follows a recipe, and it's always incredible. He really likes that guy up in the Balkan mountains, somewhere near Russia, who cooks outdoors. He cooks everything outdoors in a wood oven, roasts whole lambs and stuff like that. And so Eris used to watch him on TV all the time on YouTube. All right, so that's it. Our creation is ready to be put in the oven. Here it is. Thanks for watching.